You have to accept the fact that the government totally wants to provide surveillance on every part of your life. They want to know when you're eating. They want to know if you're eating a cheeseburger, which is very bad because Bill Gates wants you to eat his fake meat that grows in a peach tree dish. So you'll probably get a little zap.
Did she say peach tree dish?
Peach tree dish.
Did she say peach tree dish, or did she actually say petri?
Grows in a peach tree dish.
She said peach tree. Oh, she's a white lady from Georgia, chat. What did I tell you? The only reason you'd be in Georgia is for our delicious peach trees where we grow meat. This is the hero of the right. Compare AOC, who's the hero of the progressive left or the socialist left, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the hero of the fascist far right. My God. The worst part is Nancy Pelosi and her drunk husband are losing to this. These aren't the future of the Republicans. These are the present of the Republicans.
Peach tree dish. So you'll probably get a little zap inside your body and that say, no, don't eat a real cheeseburger. You need to eat the fake burger, the fake meat from Bill Gates.
Wait, what? What is she saying? All right, I got to start this from the beginning because it's getting more batshit and stupid every sentence.
You have to accept the fact that the government totally wants to provide surveillance on every part of your life. They want to know when you're eating. They want to know if you're eating a cheeseburger, which is very bad because Bill Gates wants you to eat his fake meat that grows in a peach tree dish. So you'll probably get a little zap inside your body and that say, no, don't eat a real cheeseburger. You need to eat the fake burger, the fake meat from Bill Gates. They probably also want to know when you go to the bathroom and if your bowel movements are on time or consistent. I mean, what else do these people want to know? You have to accept the...
Okay. Does that fake meat even exist? Does Petri dish meat even exist? Holy fucking hell.
That's praxis.
We'll just range from futile to just ridiculous.
Biden's address came from a place of, he's lost multiple children. That, I think, cynically, frankly, the White House sees that as a point of, that they can hit on because it's obviously they perceive him as the empathy president. And so they think that he can hit these right notes here. But part of it's enraging because as much as the pain that Biden has gone through in that way, I think is horrific. There's no legislative solution that is even being discussed, and it won't be because the Senate wants to go on recess, and frankly, they don't want to do anything institutionally in the Senate that would allow for any gun measures to pass.
And to be clear, there's not a lot of room they can do because of the Supreme Court, and this just gets back to the failure of the Biden administration to do what they can do, right? There are limits to what they can do legislatively. There are limits that we can do with the bully pulpit. I mean, I am fully aware of this and sympathetic to it. But there's a lot of things that Joe Biden could have done over the past year and a half to put us in a slightly better position to deal with this.
And fine, if the Supreme Court strikes this stuff down, then so be it, though. But that doesn't mean you don't swing.
Well, that's right. But also, I would also just say, we need to understand that the Supreme Court is a political body. Joe Biden commissioned a report on the Supreme Court, I don't know, a year ago. And we never talked about it because it amounted to nothing. Because he put a bunch of institutionalists on there because he wanted to protect the sanctity of the Supreme Court when it is bullcrap.
And by the way, Chad, if you've been watching, if you watched me when I was just an infrequent guest on Majority Report, I said that it was fucking a wrap. The moment Scalia's seat was filled by Donald Trump instead of Clinton or Obama, it was a fucking wrap. Our only alternative path was that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would survive to the next Democratic president and that Clarence Thomas died unexpectedly during the next Democratic presidential administration. That was our only path. The moment Ruth Bader Ginsburg was replaced by Trump, it was a fucking wrap. They got the far-right court they've always dreamed. They've got 6 psychos on the Supreme Court, 5 insane people. And that was it. Even if Clarence Thomas were to die tomorrow, it wouldn't matter. It'd be a 5-4 batshit crazy conservative court.
It is. It's just bull. It's bull.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing
It's like
sacrosanct
political-
about it. It's like polluted and as sewery as possible.
And would that make a difference right now? No, it wouldn't make a material difference now, but it would decrease the timeline. The Republicans understood and conservatives understood when they lost the Supreme Court that they needed to start working to take it back. And it took them 50 years. 50 years. And these guys are still punting.
Yep.
There's no reason to believe that it's going to take any less time. This is stuff that should have been started 10 years ago by people like the president, who is a Democrat. And the funny thing is, not funny, the ridiculous thing is, they think it's going to make a difference politically. And it
Yes.
never does.
Well, let's hear it. I have something to say about that.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When
are you planning on it, Joe? When are you planning on it, Joe?
in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done? It's been 3,448 days, 10 years since I stood up at a high school in Connecticut, a grade school in Connecticut, where another gunman massacred 26 people, including 20 first graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Since then, there have been over 900 incidents of gunfires reported on school grounds. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Santa Fe High School in Texas. Oxford High School in Michigan. The list goes on, and the list grows when it includes mass shootings at places like movie theaters, houses of worship, as we saw just 10 days ago, the grocery store in Buffalo, New York. I am sick and tired of it. We have to act. And don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage. I spent my career as a senator and a vice president working to pass common sense gun laws. We can and won't prevent every tragedy, but we know they work and have positive impact. When we passed the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down. When the law expired, mass shootings tripled. The idea that an 18-year-old kid can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault weapons is just wrong. What in God's name do you need an assault weapon for except to kill someone?
I'm just, when he says we need to act, you need to act. Frankly, it's
so amazing. Whenever a Republican is president, there's no limit to the power that they can wield. When a Democrat is president, there's no limit to how weak they can be.
Terrible politics, and it's even electorally outside of the fact that it's enraging, because people want to see a president acting himself or herself. They want to see action being taken. And frankly, the arrogance of the Democrats on this, in terms of just, well, we see public opinion polling, 90% of people want universal background checks, 10% don't. Fine, you can cherry pick statistics that show that, you know, that there are different ideas for gun control that might favor Democrats in a vacuum, basically. But the Republican Party doesn't operate on polling and public opinion. They act with the urgency of a minoritarian party, which is what they are.
What is an assault weapon? The deadliest school shooting at Virginia Tech was done with handguns. First of all, let me just say this. That's a meaningless statement. Who gives a shit if slightly more people would kill with handguns than assault rifles? The answer of a true gun control program would involve controlling handguns as well as assault rifles. Just so happens that assault rifles are usually more deadly than handguns. This is just a matter of physics and how the human body works. You just literally don't. Here, would you rather I shot you with a rifle bullet or a handgun bullet? If you don't pick a handgun bullet, you're a very dumb person. Especially if it's a 5.56. You know, if you're gonna get shot with a NATO round, or a 9mm. You pick the 9mm. Obviously, not being shot is a better choice. That's not the choice in America. Are you a Marxist, Mike? I mean, anybody, of course. How can you not be? The only people who are not Marxists are literally people who haven't read it or who use the insights of Marx in opposition to the working class. The most Marxist fucking people go to business school. Business school, they tell you how to oppress the working class. They tell you how to extract value from people. They don't hide it behind the flowery language of the economics division of a university. They actually tell you how to oppose union organizing. They explain to you how to wring out extra money from employees without paying them more. Why are Democrats always too good or just straight afraid to abuse a clearly broken system that continually uses to railroad them? We've talked about this quite a bit, but it has to do with there was a very good video by Innuendo Studios on YouTube called when they go high, we go, or when they go low, we go high, which explains the Democrats' worship of process and liberalism brain. We've watched it a couple of times. I recommend it quite a bit.
Abortion rights are popular. Abortion bans are unpopular. And guess what's happening right now? We're about to ban abortion in many states throughout this country, and Roe v. Wade's about to be overturned. So they're playing on an entirely different field. The Democrats are acting as if public opinion is going to just gradually move the political tides in their favor without them really having to do anything. That Republicans can be shamed into changing their ways, and then eventually the fever will break. It's part of that same thing. When the reality is that you guys are just playing two separate games, and the Republicans are winning and like winning over, are winning on their playing field basically. So I don't want to play the popular opinion game. It's not about popularity. This is about...
Why hasn't it been made official? Because they have to write dissents, concurrences, etc. It takes a while to actually release a formal decision of the Supreme Court. My guess is they're either going to do it later in the year or maybe even after the election.
Power. You have to seize power because it's life and death.
And all of this, and at the end of the day, this is, again, about the Democratic leadership. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, why aren't you talking about the Republicans? Because everyone watching this knows.
Yes.
That where the Republican Party stands with this. And, but none of us here know where the Democratic Party stands on this. And that is because, on one hand, the Democratic leaders come out and talk about we have to get rid of the power of the NRA. And literally, on the other hand, they are recording robocalls for a congressman in Texas in a primary last night.
It's called the All Right Playbook. You go high, we go low.
Right.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Who gets an A rating from the NRA on top of also being against abortion rights, and who's going to very possibly win that primary by 100 votes out of 45,000 cast. So that's why we're talking about the Democrats, because we know where the Republicans stand. But the Democrats are sending mixed messages. There's no other way to assess that. And you're not going to win when you're fighting for power, when you're sending completely mixed messages. You're just not. We need new leadership. There's just no other question about it. This leadership has failed. It has failed not even in executing an agenda. It has failed in even articulating a specific agenda.
Just really quickly, the Schumer quote. Schumer says, no gun bill imminent, tells Jake Sherman of Punchbowl News. Americans can make a choice, Schumer says. Americans can cast their vote in November. Some of them, if Cuellar holds on, can cast a vote for somebody who hasn't.
The reason why people called you a debate pervert is because you put out a point that anybody with a functioning brain would recognize as irrelevant, immaterial, or not even close to a debate point. Also, you assumed that we were talking about some sort of very narrow politician focus group tested version of gun control, as opposed to the maximalist and effective position that would include handguns. The type of gun control we see in Japan, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Australia, France, etc. That's the type of gun control that I support. Not some pissed piss whiny little Democrat Party gun control. It's like maybe we'll do background checks on a couple of private guns, and maybe we won't allow people to have rifles with 45 round magazines and just make it 20 rounds, please, sir. And we'll grandfather all your weapons in you purchase so that you can keep them. And yeah, no. You want to argue with the Democrats? Go find a Democrat.
An A rating with the NRA on the Democratic ticket. Schumer says Republicans can work with Democrats now to craft a bill. He's skeptical. Unlikely. Burnt in the past.
I mean, Americans can make a choice. How much money was expended by the DCCC, to tell the voters in Texas 28, vote for the guy who gets an A rating with the NRA?
That's the choice you guys made. That's the choice Pelosi made. That's the choice Clyburn made. They stand for big tents, but they can't stand for gun violence and abortion rights. I mean, these are the things that they fundraise off of, and yet they can't even stick to that. I mean, like, all you guys just had to do was just let the primary play out, right? But they couldn't, because they care more about cementing their own power than they care about any principle of politics. Any principle. Yeah,
I mean, it's undeniable. I mean, if Nancy Pelosi's robocall could not sway 101 votes, just the absence of it couldn't sway 101 votes, then she's also a horrible leader.
Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never
Peachtree dish
by selling you crap.